Global CEO of Mastek, joining in with us to understand about the numbers. What is the outlook of the numbers? Very good afternoon to you, Mr. Chandrana. And I want to start by just asking you about what you said in your press release, that Q3 organic growth was actually lower than your expectations due to some higher furloughs as well as the seasonality factor coming into play. Now, any reason that there could be that maybe this would extend in Q4, or could we start seeing Q4 to be better then?
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. At an overall level, as you know, we showed a 20% year-on-year growth at a group level, as well as our operating EBITDA stayed at in the same range of 17.3%. The furloughs and seasonality of the December quarter is a industry phenomena. We do expect to bounce back in Q4 and in the coming quarters as well. Our overall order book, 12 months backlog, as was pointed out previously, is continuing to grow, again, close to 29.7% year on year. So we have some confidence going into Q4 on the deal momentum, as well as our inorganic business, the acquisition we made a few months back, which is a Salesforce Global Summit partner, MST Solutions, has delivered some really good results and continues to show great promise and potential going forward.
Confidence coming in as we go in Q4. A very good afternoon, Mr. Chandrana. This is Shrishti joining in. If we look at your numbers, so Europe actually forms 60% of your revenue. But this quarter, that has actually declined partially due to the ramp up, due to ramp downs. What's the outlook for Europe, especially in the wake of the global headwinds that we are seeing?
Sure, no, great question. I think if you look at Europe as a whole, we have the significant business in UK, where we work with some very critical government institutions, what we call a secure government services. And that business, which is the Home Office, HMRC, the borders and immigration, is continuing to do well. We also have a healthcare account, one particular account, which is a government institution as well, which has gone through some significant leadership changes over the last few months. As an organization, they are not doing as well. And so we've been impacted in the last couple of quarters because of that. Having said that, right, as we look forward, our private sector business in UK, which was a small part of our business, is starting to show some good momentum and order book deal wins in Q3. Europe, which is the outside of UK, Europe has been impacted, but it's a very small portion of our business where there is slowdown and delays. But if you look at UK, which is a primary part of the UK-Europe business, that continues to perform strong. Obviously, with the seasonality and the furloughs, number of working days in December, that did get impacted due to that. But overall, in terms of our customer connects and deals, we continue to see momentum there.
Right, Mr. Chandrana, but there's one factor that is coming into play is your margin performance, which was slight bit of a disappointment in terms of what was the expectation coming in from the street. And, they were penciling an expansion of around 150 basis points. This has clearly remained flat in your margins on a sequential basis. So, why is that, and what is the outlook in terms of margins, to return to the 20% level again?
Sure. Yeah, so we have obviously, as you would have seen, right, we have some unique markets that we operate in. We have a market in Middle East, which operates at a slightly lower margins compared to the rest of the world. And then we have a US business, which over a period of time, as you would look at the numbers, we've grown from about 18% of the overall mix about a year back to now almost 27-28% of our overall mix. So that's really the direction that we want to take it. So as part of the overall margin equation, there is the efficiencies and the execution gross margin that we are focused on that has actually improved from Q2 to Q3. But we do want to make the right investments in capabilities, in our sales teams, as well as our overall ability to win larger deals and larger accounts. So high teens is kind of how we've looked at our operating EBITDA. We are hopeful that as we continue to deliver slightly better organic growth going into Q4 and beyond, those margins will improve as well.
Okay, but Mr. Chandrana, how are the acquisitions ramping up? What's more in the pipeline? Any insight on that?
Yeah, so we've been very consistent on looking at our acquisition strategy into three themes. One is the CX which is our customer experience, digital experience side of it. We made that acquisition 6 months back, or a little less than 6 months back. That was the MST acquisition with Salesforce, really working out well, both in terms of standalone business as well as synergies, which we call as taking Mastek services, our digital and cloud transformation services, into MST accounts. They have some large relationships, in particular areas in healthcare and manufacturing, and the vice versa as well. Taking Salesforce, which is a large ecosystem, into Mastek existing accounts. The two other areas that we're focused on as we look at future acquisitions, which we are very careful about qualifying the right assets, are in the data space, the data sort of continuum, as we call it, the data AI automation continuum, and the cloud platforms, particularly Azure and AWS. Now, in that context, we did make a minority investment last quarter in December in a company called Voltio Edge, which is a very interesting platform in the IoT and data space. It also gives us an entry into the ServiceNow ecosystem, which is another large platform that companies and enterprise accounts are adopting. So we continue to look at both organic means to build our capabilities and differentiate, and of course, selectively looking at inorganic in the future as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Chandrana, for joining with us this afternoon on Market Fatafat, giving us an insight on what should we be expecting from Mastek going forward as well. At least we're expecting a bounce back coming in revenue from Q4 as well as what is highlighted and what's the highlight coming in from Mastek as well. But let's keep it going then with all